So good evening, welcome everyone. So we have a dedication this evening from Chandrasaro for his aunt. May the Sangha dedicate this evening's chanting and meditation to Monica Ann Gonsalves, who passed away Friday, the 11th of July 2025 from her struggles with cancer. May the merit and good energy from our Dhamma practice bring peace and light to her journey beyond, and may she have the good fortune to find herself in a happy destination, a peaceful realm free from illness and pain. From Chandrasaro. So we can dedicate the evening chanting in Pali on page 18. Yosom Bhagava Arahang Samma Sambuddho Savakato Yena Bhagavata Dhammo Supatipanno Yasa Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho Dhammayam Bhagavanta Sadhammang Sasangham Ime Sakare Yataraham Aropete Apibojayama Sadhuno Bhante Bhagava Suchira Parine Bhutopi Pachima Janatanukamba Manasa Ime Sakare Dugatapana Karabute Patiganato Amhagande Karatang Hitaya Sukaya Arahang Sama Sambuddho Bhagava Buddha Bhagavanta Abhivademi. Sawakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami. Supatipanno Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho Sanghang Namami. Handamayam Buddhasa Bhagavato Pubabhaganamakarang Karomase Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Handamayam Buddhanusatinayam Karomase Tam Kopana Bhagavanta Eva Kalayano Kete Sado Abogato Ete Peso Bhagava Arahang Samma Sambuddho Vichacharana Sammano Sugato Lokavedo
sarati sata deva manusana Buddha Bhagavati Hannamayang Buddha Bigiting Karomase Buddha Varahanta Varata Diguna Beyoto Sudha Vijnana Karuna Hesamagatato Bodhe Seyo Sujanatang Kamala Vasoro Vandamaham Tamaranang Sirasajenenang Bodhoyo Sabapanina Saranange Mamutamang Tatamanu Satetan Vandamitang Sivenaham Buddha Sahasamita Sova Buddha Me Sameke Saro Buddha Dukkha Sagata Javidata Jahita Same Buddha Sangniyate Sariran Jevetan Jetang Vandanto Hancharesa Buddha Seva Subodhitang Nati Me Sarananganya Buddha Me Saranang Varang Edena Sajavajena Vadeya Sadhu Sasane Bodhame Vandamane Yang Punyam Pasutang Hita Sabe Piyantarayame Mahesam Tasate Jasa Handamayang Dhammanusatinayang Karomase Savakato Bhagavata Dhammo Sandeteko Akaleko Ehipaseko Opanaiko Pachadam Veditabo Venyohiti Handamayang Dhamma Bigiting Karomase Savakatata Diguna Yoga Vasena Seyo Yamagabhaga Pariyate Vimogabedo Dhammo Kuloka Patana Patata Hitari Vandamaham Tamarana Radhamma Metang Dhammo Sabapanina Saranange Mamutamang Dutiyado Satetana Vandamitang Sivenahang Brahma Sahasamitaso Dhammo Me Samike Saro Dhammo dukkha sagata chavita chahita same Dhamma saniyade saviram jevetam jetam vandanto ancarisa Brahma seva sudhammatam nati me savanang anya dhammo me savanang varam etena sajavaje vadeyam sadhu sasane dhammam me vandamane yang punyam pasutang gita sabe piyantarayame mahesam tasate jasa. Handamayang sankhanusatinayang karomase Sampatipanno bhagavato sāvaka saṅgho Ujjapatipanno bhagavato sāvaka saṅgho Nyāyapatipanno bhagavato Samijjapatipanno bhagavato sāvaka saṅgho Yadidam jatari purisa yuga Ata purisa pogala Esa bhagavato sāvaka saṅgho Ahuneyo bahuneyo dakineyo anjali karaniyo anuttaram bunya ketam lokasati Handamayang sankha bhigiting karomase Sadhammajo supatipati guna biyuto Dabido hariya pugala sangaseto Selati dhamma pavara sayagaya ceto Vandamaham Tamariya Nagadam Susudam Sanggoyo Sabapanina Saranam Kemamuttamam Satitana Vandamitam Sivenaham Sangha Sahasamita Sova Gome Samike Saro Sangho Durga Sagata Javitata Chahita Same Sangha Saniyade Saviram Jevetam Jetam Vandanto Ancaresa Sangha Sopatipanatam ติเมสารนังกัญญาสังโฆเมสารนังวรังเอเตนะสัจวะเทวะเดยะสาธุสาสเนสังฆังเมวันธัมมาเนยังพุญญังภาสุทังเกตาสาเบปิยันทรายาเมมาเหสัมทัสสะเทเจสานะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะพุทธังธัมมังสังฆังนะมัสสามิ So here at the monastery we just began the 3-month Vassa retreat with a week of meditation practice. So a week of more turning our attention more inward, bringing our awareness to the manifestations of this mind and body in the present moment, learning about the mind. I call it developing the skill of looking after the mind and heart. And this not only benefits ourselves, but this also benefits others. Because the more skillful we can be in our life, then that will affect the people around us, and the people we come in contact with. So when we develop this inner awareness, we develop this skill of knowing when maybe not such wholesome things come up in the mind, which is natural. But how to more be aware of these things without them manifesting in terms of actions of, like, especially body and speech. Because if we have some sort of confidence in, like, the law of karma, that the things we do and the things we say, they have results, they have effects, and if we're more skillful, it'll bring good effects. But if we're unskillful, it'll bring bad effects. Now, like these days, you hear more in the media about practicing mindfulness, people developing more awareness on one level. But from the Buddhist perspective, though, the Buddhist teaching is a whole system of training, not just training of the mind, but also the training in virtue. And also in the Vassa here, the Sangha will be studying discipline, the virtuous guidelines that the Sangha have. So if we can practice meditation, but we don't have a good foundation for the practice, then the benefits will be limited. So the analogy the Buddha gave is like rubbing two sticks together to make fire. If one of the sticks is wet,
it won't really bring a good result. So, meditation without virtue, limited result. Don't lead to the sort of wisdom that can, liberate us from suffering. But if the two sticks are dry, then this will make fire. So when meditation is supported by virtue, then this can give rise to the sort of wisdom that can help us to live more skillfully, peacefully, and with less suffering. One of the, with the cultivation of awareness, this inner awareness, one also begins to notice, the effects of things. The effects of, things like bodily actions and verbal actions. See how things affect us. And that's good to know, because if we notice things are not affecting the heart and mind in wholesome ways, then maybe we have an incentive to not to follow those inclinations. So that's like bodily action. And when I reflect on bodily action, in the precepts it's about killing and stealing and sexual misconduct, but also just the things we look at, things we put in our mouths, the things we listen to. Some things have a wholesome effect, but this is good to know those things that don't have such a wholesome effect. Something like food. Food. If we're eating more with awareness, then maybe we notice when we've had enough to eat. But of course, if we getting caught into the craving for the taste and the nice taste, then maybe next thing we know, we've overeaten. Yeah. But this is how we learn. The effects of the things we look at. So, somebody who sends me links to the latest updates on monks in Thailand that are doing unskillful things. And I don't open them. Because there's thousands of monks in Thailand doing good things with their life, but of course that is not sensational enough to make the news, is it? So I really don't want to dwell on the few that have lost the plot. I'd rather just bring to mind those that are actually living virtuously and doing good things and behaving as a monk should behave. And, that's the thing with the news, it's all sensation to bring up certain emotions. So that's good to know, how we get affected by the news. Does it bring up worries, anxieties, fears, anger? Or does it bring up compassion? You have to see that for yourself, right? But, I'm not saying don't look at the news, but maybe sometimes moderation. And to remember there's good people out there and doing good things. So I looked at the news tonight. And of course in the news, the latest thing about what some monks in Thailand are doing, misbehaving. That's all you ever hear about in the news about Thai monks, either raping somebody on a coastal resort, or it seems so silly to me. That's what the news dwells on. And then there's all these things, social media, isn't there? The effects of these things, the gossip, the things on our Facebooks and Twitters, and the effects of these. Is it having a good effect on our quality of mind? I'm not telling you how these things affect you, I'm just encouraging inquiry. So the Buddha's advice was, before we do an active body, so this before we look at something, before we eat something, or before we hear something, to just reflect for a moment, is this going to be of benefit? Is it going to have a good effect or a bad effect on both ourselves and others? So this is just the way the Buddha encouraged us to inquire, because that Buddha's teaching is the spirit of inquiry. So while we're doing some action of body, noticing the effects of that, or after we've done some action of body, notice the effect of that. And I think this is that awareness develops. Sometimes, initially, we don't see the results till after. We don't see the effects of some things while it's happening, but after we notice the effects. But this is how we learn. We learn to refine our awareness. Begin to notice, well, we're looking at something that's not having a good effect, so maybe turn it off. So this is, just learning to, again, this skill of looking after the heart and mind, and just being aware of how the things we subject ourselves to in the sensory realm affect us. And speech, speech is a very powerful tool, and if used wisely, it can bring a lot of benefit to oneself and others. But of course, if it's used unwisely, can bring a lot of misfortune to oneself and others. And, in the media sometimes you don't see good examples of good speech. Yeah, if you see the way people relate to each other. But of course, we don't have to follow their example, but maybe follow the example of people who have been more skillful with their speech. So there's something that we have quite a few when we're studying our discipline as monks. There's quite a few rules we have to keep in mind about speech. Some are related to, they are related to the encouragement about malicious speech, being truthful, not harsh, or a lot of just frivolous gossip. Because, these things do leave their effects. So, we have guidelines like not talking. We live in community, so and not maliciously talking about our fellow monks. Of course, that should also be extended out to the people who come here too. But in the actual rule, because we are living in community, malicious tale-bearing, backbiting. Because, that habit doesn't leave a good effect on the quality of mind. Because often it's motivated by aversion. And it's more skillful to be more aware of our aversion rather than following it. If you want to be free from negative mind states, then, we are developing a skill of not speaking in ways that keep them going. So when we into a backbiting session, what is the quality of mind? It's not usually loving kindness or compassion, is it really? And then this whole thing you see a lot in the media, of people trying to put people down to make themselves look good. Maybe in politics you see this. Interesting, sometimes in these, when voting starts, how they try to defame the candidate by some of their family is not doing something skillful. So they're not doing anything skillful, but the people in the family are. So that's they use that to try and defame them, put them down to make things better for them. So this is, a lot of what one sees in different areas, people in intellectual realms trying to put each other down to make themselves look more clever. It's all, around conceit, isn't it? Ego. Now, maybe this is a very high standard, but the Buddhas said a really good standard for a good person. So if somebody asks you about the faults of somebody else, then a good person is very reluctant to talk about that, about somebody else's faults. But if they're pushed, then they might, have to say something, but they wouldn't go into great detail. But if asked about their own shortcomings, they're happy to share that and go into more detail. Now, if asked about their good qualities, they're reluctant to say very much. And if pushed, we maybe say a little bit. And if they're asked about somebody else's good points, they're very happy to talk about that too, and go into great detail about somebody else's good points. So it's quite different from maybe what we see a lot of, people trying to put each other down to make themselves look good. People being modest. Some very, nice examples from the Buddha's life that, like, he would never there was other teachers around who were teaching different things, but he never put them down. He'd never say, they're wrong and I'm right. But, sometimes we'd ask, what does your teacher teach? And then he would be asked, what do you teach? He said, well, I teach this. Sometimes it was different from what the other teacher taught. But he didn't say that was wrong, but he said, but okay, that's what that teacher teaches, I teach this. So, not the sense of I'm right and you're wrong, but just sharing what they experience. Sharing experience, how they've experienced things. So, people come to the Buddha, they say, which teacher's right and which is wrong? Which teacher's enlightened, which teacher's not enlightened? Questions like this. And the Buddha said, don't trouble yourself with that, but I'll give some teachings now. If you think it's useful, use it. If it's not, don't worry about it. Never go into who was enlightened, who was not enlightened, who was right, who was wrong. I just find this a beautiful way of speaking. Not giving rise to conceit, ego. So, this is a skill of, being more aware. Maybe we are in a conversation and something triggers off a negative mind state. But, if we're practicing, we're more aware, maybe we find we don't have to speak on that negative mind state. And, what I appreciate is from meditation practice is that there's some of the thoughts that don't come into my mind, don't come out of my mouth. Maybe that's what we can learn here, isn't it? We sat here meditating for half an hour or so. Lots of thoughts came up into the mind, but nothing came out of the mouth, did it? So we can do that, can't we? We can practice that. So this is why it can be a benefit to others too. Sometimes we see in a community, we see somebody doing something unskillful or not appropriate. We can shout at them, use harshly, said, "Don't do that, you idiot." Or we can, maybe that's the first thought that comes up. But then we can reflect, well, what might be a more skillful way to give feedback? And maybe that's not the time to do it. We can reflect on it and then later say, try to encourage them rather than, browbeating them for doing something skillful, encourage them to do something skillful. So this is, the spirit of what the Buddha would teach is, how to, not to browbeat unskillfulness, but how to encourage skillfulness. When we study the Vinaya in the Vassa, we sometimes, behind all the rules the Buddha laid down for the Sangha, there's a story behind them. Something that happened that made the Buddha lay down a rule of training. And, they're quite human stories, generally. That, how people can react to things, respond to things. And the people, the Buddha particularly encouraged the monks to be careful about the way they talk about them, was like the Sangha officers. So in the Sangha we have people have different offices. Oh, we have the abbot, for example. We have a lodgings officer. We have a Bindabat officer, somebody who organises some of the alms rounds. We have a storekeeper. So in the time of the Buddha, there was a monk who would show people to the lodgings. And the monks didn't like the lodgings they were given. And they got upset. So they got really angry with the lodgings officer. So they tried to corrupt him or spread malicious lies about him. So they spread malicious lies that he was having an affair with one of the nuns. So the Buddha found out, admonished the monks, and then laid down the rule about falsely accusing a monk of a gross offence. Yeah. But they didn't stop at that. Then they got 2 goats together. They called one the name of the monk, and they called the other one the name of the nun, and they made them they copulated. And then they went and said, "Oh, this name and that, they've been copulating together." So the Buddha had to lay down another rule. So this is ways, people with, when people are angry and upset about something, they want to get their own back. But we might, in our life, we might have those tendencies, but we don't have to follow them. Don't have to follow that, wanting to hit back. Another thing that we're not allowed to, in our rules and training, is about not disclosing to the lay community any gross faults of our fellow monks. Spreading gossip about some of the maybe misbehaviour of our fellow monks. And, I appreciate that because, sometimes you can feel quite jealous of some of the fellow monks, maybe, getting a bit more attention than you or more popular than you. It's human nature, isn't it? I certainly felt jealous of certain monks too. But you don't have to follow that. So so somebody comes up to me and starts, "Oh, this monk, he gives such wonderful talks. He must be really enlightened." And you're jealous of him. So you start saying, "Well, he's not so enlightened. He's done this offence, he's done that offence. Done this, he's done that." Yeah, you see how you want to knock somebody down. Yeah? So that's why we have rules. We don't tell the lay people about our fellow monks any of their gross offences. But unless we've had permission from the Sangha to do that. Because in some cases maybe we have to warn the lay people about certain behaviours of certain monks. So, So, having more awareness of our mind and our reactions to things does, it just helps us to be much more skillful and not to follow some of our impulses, to speak in ways that are not going to be helpful, not only to other people but to ourselves, and keep some of these reactions and negative reactions going. So like I was saying, this is what we're studying in the Vasa. We're reflecting on, how to be more skillful. And, the rules about, like greed as well. Not about not asking people, or making big demands on the lay community. Not asking for special things, just being content with what's offered. So the sort of guidelines as to lessen the sort of how the greedy mind can manifest, wanting the best of this, the best of that. Now, maybe for you have more choice than what we have, but maybe that again we can reflect. Or if I do get this thing I want, what will be the result? Will it have long-lasting benefit for oneself or others? Just reflecting like this. But there's wholesome desires, right? That will bring benefit to oneself and others. So this is, again, the practice of the Buddha's path is about refining our virtue, refining the mind, giving rise to wisdom. And, the more we can refine, then the drier the sticks will be, and the quicker the fire will manifest, the wisdom will manifest. And it's a gradual training, but one that brings great benefit not only for ourselves but for others too. So I say it's not just meditation; but it's a whole cultivation of virtue, meditation, and wisdom. I've maybe said a bit more about speech tonight because that's a powerful tool, and I can see it's an area a lot of us have to work on and to be more aware of the effects of our speech. But we learn through experience and being more aware. So I'd like to offer these reflections this evening. So we can finish with the chant in English on page 41, Reflection on Universal Well-Being. May I abide in well-being, in freedom from affliction, in freedom from hostility, in freedom from ill will, in freedom from anxiety, and may I maintain well-being in myself. May everyone abide in well-being, in freedom from hostility, in freedom from ill will, in freedom from anxiety, and may they maintain well-being in themselves. May all beings be released from all suffering, and may they not be parted from the good fortune they have attained. When they act upon intention, all beings are the owners of their action and inherit its results. The future is born from such action, companion to such action, and its results will be the home. All actions with intention, be they skillful or harmful, of such acts they will be the heirs. Araham Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddham Bhagavantam Abhivademi. Sawakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami. Supatipanno Bhagavato Sawaka Sangho Sanghang Namami.